Hello, everyone. Let's go ahead and get started. Thank you all for joining us today for our webinar, Business Structure and Licensing, Part 2 of our How to Start a Small Business series. My name is Kelly Schweppe, and I'm the Program Marketing Specialist here at General Electric Credit Union. We're so glad you've joined us as we have a lot of great content ahead. And thanks to technology, we're excited to be able to connect with you on such an important topic and wanted to thank you all for tuning in from the comfort of your home, work, or wherever you may be today. And with that, I'm going to turn this over to Philip Harrison to introduce himself and today's guest speaker.
Thank you, Kelly. As Kelly mentioned, my name is Philip Harrison. I'm part of our Treasury Management team here at General Electric Credit Union. Through innovative product offerings, we're able to assist our business members with their depository and transaction-based needs. We have a variety of business-specific deposit, lending products, and services that help businesses of all sizes manage their cash flow, mitigate their risk, and ultimately grow and attain their goals. Our goal is to form a productive relationship with our business members, to become their trusted financial partner and help guide them to success with our knowledge, experience, and product offerings. Last year, we began offering a series of webinars to assist our business members with improving the quality of their business's financial life. If we can assist you and your business with our financial offerings or banking advice, please reach out and we look forward to working with you. So now on to our distinguished guest. Fern Goldman is an attorney with Wood & Lamping. Fern has extensive experience with representing clients in real estate, commercial, and corporate transactions. Before joining Wood & Lamping in 2017, Fern worked for large and medium-sized regional firms, as well as serving as in-house counsel for PNC Bank. Fern represents small and large business clients in corporate, organization, business loans, asset sales, real estate purchase and sales, and other needs. So now it's my pleasure to introduce you to Fern Goldman.
Thank you. Hi, this is Fern Goldman. I'm an attorney with Wood & Lamping, a law firm in downtown Cincinnati. There are several reasons for choosing a business structure. Among them are to protect your personal assets from business losses and claims, to have the ability to own a business with other people, to grow an asset which you can sell or leave to your children, and to have the ability to bring in investors or obtain other financing. And we will touch on some of these issues in my presentation. As this slide indicates, your business structure affects how much you pay in taxes, your ability to raise money, what paperwork you need to file, and your personal liability. And we're going to be talking about several instances about registration requirements with the Secretary of State in order to start a business entity. And this presentation is based on Ohio law, although other states' laws are similar in certainly the types of organizations that are available. Next slide, please. A sole proprietorship is not a separate entity from the individual who operates it. A sole proprietorship means you're operating either in your own name or a trade name, but you will be personally liable for debts and business obligations, and if anyone were to make a claim for some product you sold or service you performed. You can't bring in investors by selling stock, for example, and you're required in Ohio, if you're using a name other than your own, usually known as a DBA or doing business as, you're required to register what's called a fictitious name that you're using for your business with the Ohio Secretary of State. A partnership permits two or more people to own a business together. It's formed by signing a partnership agreement. There are three types of partnerships: general partnerships with two or more general partners, and each general partner has unlimited liability for the debts and obligations of the business. All partnerships are formed by signing a partnership agreement, which sets forth the rights and liabilities of all the partners, how long the partnership will remain in existence, the management of the partnership, and how the partnership may be terminated, among other things. A general partnership must file either a statement of partnership authority or a fictitious name filing, which is like a DBA again, with the Secretary of State of Ohio. A limited partnership has one general partner who has unlimited liability for the debts and obligations of the business, and as many limited partners as you would like who have limited liability and limited business control. They're more like investors. Profits are passed through to all the partners' personal income tax returns. There's not a separate tax on the limited partnership. Limited partnerships must maintain a statutory agent in the state of Ohio. A statutory agent is also filed with the Ohio Secretary of State, and it's the person on whom notices or lawsuits may be served. It must be someone who lives or has a business address in Ohio. Also, the name of a limited partnership must include one of these terms: limited partnership, LP, limited, or LTD. Finally, there are limited liability partnerships, which give limited liability to every owner and are usually used by law firms and other types of entities, but are not as common for business use, so I'm not going to spend time going into them. Now we're going to talk about corporations. Corporations are separate legal entities from their owners. They're like a person under the law. They can make a profit, they are taxed, and the corporation itself is legally liable for the debts and obligations of the business. A corporation protects shareholders from personal liability for debt, obligations, or claims against the corporation, except in limited circumstances. For example, if you form a corporation but don't follow the corporate formalities or open a business bank account and then you use it like your personal checking account, you haven't maintained the separate existence of the corporation. And if there's a claim against the corporation, someone can seek to hold you personally liable on what's called piercing the corporate veil, again, because you did not follow corporate formalities. You form a corporation by filing articles of incorporation with the Secretary of State. And as I said, for limited partnership, all corporations must have a statutory agent who's an individual or company resident of Ohio. The name is on file with the Secretary of State. The agent can resign or you can revoke their appointment, but then you must appoint someone else or your articles of incorporation and your existence will be canceled by the Secretary of State. We're going to talk about two types of corporations, a C corporation and an S corporation. A C corporation pays taxes on its income. It pays corporate income tax. As a result, in some cases, profits are taxed twice. First, the corporation is taxed on its profits at the corporate income tax rate. And second, when shareholders receive dividends from the corporation, they're taxed on those dividends on their personal income tax returns. An S corporation is designed to avoid the double taxation of regular C corporations. They allow profits and some losses to be passed through directly to shareholders' personal income and not be taxed as corporate income. After you form your corporation, and you don't form it as a C or an S corporation, you form the corporation with the Ohio Secretary of State by filing articles of incorporation. You then must make an election with the IRS to be an S corporation. Some other things about a corporation is that its owners or investors are called shareholders or stockholders, and they make a capital contribution to the corporation as their investment. The shareholders adopt bylaws, which in Ohio are called a code of regulations, which set forth how the corporation is going to operate, which would be through a board of directors and what officers it's going to have. You can have one director only if you have one shareholder only. Otherwise, you need to have more than one. The directors make the big decisions for the corporation. And for the day-to-day working of the corporation, the officers who are elected annually by the directors, such as a president, vice president, secretary, and treasurer, are responsible for the day-to-day operations of the business. So again, the board is required to approve actions that are outside the ordinary course of business, such as buying or leasing real estate or obtaining a loan. Corporations, as you may be able to tell, require more extensive record keeping, operational processes, and reporting. A simpler type of entity, and one that is very popular now, is a limited liability company. It's much more flexible than a corporation. It doesn't require you to annually appoint a board or appoint officers, and you can run it however you like by first you form the LLC by filing articles of organization with the Secretary of State, and then you sign an operating agreement which set forth how decisions are going to be made. A limited liability company, therefore, has advantages and benefits of both corporations and partnership business structures, in that you're protected from personal liability, you're taxed as a partnership or pass-through entity, unless you elect to be taxed as a C Corp, which you may recall would result in corporate income tax and sometimes double taxation. Now, while you're protected from liability, for both corporations and LLCs that are new entities, you may find that most financial institutions will require the shareholders or owners to guarantee a business loan, unless the company has been very successful or has been around for a while. Also on LLCs, the owners of the LLC are called members. An LLC, or it's short for limited liability company, may be formed with only one member. If you have multiple members, you may appoint a manager to be responsible for the day-to-day decisions on behalf of the LLC. LLCs must also maintain a statutory agent in Ohio registered with the Secretary of State. Ohio has a new LLC law that's effective January 1, 2022, which is even more favorable to setting up and operating an LLC because it offers even more flexibility in how you can manage it and how you can limit certain responsibilities that you might otherwise have, especially as a corporation. Nonprofit corporations are organized, again, with the Secretary of State to do charitable, educational, religious, or scientific work, among other things. They can receive tax-exempt status, but not all nonprofits are tax-exempt. First, you register as a corporation, that's a nonprofit corporation, with the state, and then you must apply for tax exemption with the IRS. And people often call a nonprofit a 501c3 organization. This actually only refers to charitable organizations. Other types of tax-exempt organizations are formed under other subsections of 501c. This chart or table shows you the different structures we've just discussed, how many people would own it or must own it, whether the individuals will have personal liability, and what type of taxes apply to each of those entities. Now we're going to talk about choosing and registering a business name. Again, this is done with the Secretary of State. And in order to register a name, it must not be substantially similar to a name that's already registered with the Secretary of State. There's a feature on the Secretary of State's website where you can enter a proposed name, and it will tell you whether that name is being used either exactly or a close to that name, and it's already registered with the Secretary of State, and so therefore you'd have to pick a different name. There's 4 different ways to register your name to protect it from use by other parties. As we're saying, a corporation or an LLC registers its name with the Secretary of State when it files its articles. There's also something called a trade name registration that you can make with the Secretary of State, where you set forth the first date of use of the name, and that could be a DBA that's used by a sole proprietorship. It can be a DBA that's used by a corporation or LLC, one or more DBAs that are different than the registered name. No one else can register in the state of Ohio in the same name as the corporation, LLC, or trade name, or in a confusingly similar name. We're going to go through the rest of the registrations and protections here on the next slides. So as I indicated, at the state level, you're protected by registering your corporate, LLC, or trade name, and no one else can register that name. At the national level, you can apply for trademark protection for a name or a trademark. An example of a trademark is the airplane logo at the bottom of the page. It's registered with the U.S. Patent and Trademark Office. Trademarks prevent others in the same or similar industry in the United States from using your trademark name or your trademark symbol. When you pick a name, you not only want to check it with the Secretary of State to see if it's already used in Ohio, but even if it can be registered in Ohio, you should really check or have a lawyer check the U.S. Patent and Trademark Office to see if there's already a business that's using that name or a very similar name to avoid the possibility of a trademark infringement lawsuit. So we talked about several times about a doing business as name, which is commonly used for sole proprietorships. In Ohio, a sole proprietorship must register a DBA if it's using one. You have a choice of registering it as a fictitious name or a trade name. A fictitious name just means it's a name really that you made up and are using, and it's not the same as your personal name. A fictitious name doesn't give you any protection for the name, and a fictitious name can be filed that's similar or the same as an already registered name. But of course, that won't prevent someone from claiming that unfair competition or you're breaching their trademark. If you file a trade name in Ohio, that means no one else can register the same name. It doesn't mean that someone might not already be using that name and hasn't registered it, and they might have common law rights in the name, but your trade name filing will help you in your defense. To open a business bank account, you need to register a DBA as a fictitious name or trade name and use either your social security number or a federal tax ID number. Most businesses need to get a tax ID number from the IRS, and a DBA sole proprietorship may get one if it wishes. A domain name is a name that's used online. If you want an online presence for your business, you register a domain name known as either a website address or a URL. Once you register your domain name, no one else can use it for as long as you continue to own it. It's a good way to protect your brand presence online. Your domain name doesn't need to be the same as your legal business name, your trade name, or your DBA. You register your domain name through a registrar service. There's a directory of accredited registrars, and you can pick one that offers you the best price and customer service. And you'll need to renew your domain registration on a regular basis. You also need to renew your trade name on a regular basis. All corporations, LLCs, partnerships, and DBAs, if desired, need to get a federal tax ID number. This is done by calling the IRS or visiting irs.gov for more information. There's also a variety of taxes that small business owners will need to pay at the state, local, and federal level. State and local taxes may include income tax, payroll, sales, self-employment, and unemployment. You can register with the Ohio Department of Taxation at tax.ohio.gov. Next, I'm going to talk about business insurance options. While we've talked about LLCs and corporations offering protection for their owners against personal liability, it's still for a business to have insurance that's either required by law or will offer the protection you need so that your asset is not damaged by a claim, perhaps for a faulty service or good that you sold. The first is workers' compensation, which is you're legally obligated to obtain if you have employees, either W-2 or independent contractors. It protects employees who might get hurt on the job. It provides medical coverage and benefits for incapacitated employees, monetary payments to injured employees unable to work. It protects you, the business owner, I should say, it protects the business from injury lawsuits. And the failure to obtain workers' compensation when it's required can result in fines, fees, or the total shutdown of your business. Next, general liability insurance protects your company from claims for bodily injuries or property damages resulting from your products, your services, or your operations. It can be anything from someone who has a slip and fall in your business premises, or someone used a product you sold and it caused damage to their home, or it hurt them in some way. Property insurance is to protect your physical assets, either if you're renting or if you're operating at the location you own. You want to protect the building if you own it, and you want to protect your business property, your inventory and equipment, and all of these, such as fires, theft, and vandalism. Disasters such as flood or tornado will require special insurance. Home-based businesses should not overlook business insurance. Your homeowner's insurance won't cover damaged equipment or inventory in cases of disaster and may contain other limitations on business use. So you can purchase a home-based business insurance policy. Finally, errors and omissions insurance is also known as professional liability insurance, and it protects you from liability related to improper services if you are considered a professional under these insurance standards. Some examples of professionals that may need errors and omissions insurance are accountants, estheticians, beauticians, dentists, hairstylists, lawyers, and money managers. Whether or not you need a license or permit to operate your business depends on the type of business or service you're providing. There may be licenses or permits required by the federal government, by state government, or local government. Some examples of federal licenses or permits are that you'll need to get a federal license or permit if your business activities are regulated by a federal agency. For example, if you import or transport animals, animal products, biologics, biotechnology, or plants across state lines, you're going to need to contact the U.S. Department of Agriculture. If you manufacture, wholesale, import, or sell alcoholic beverages at a retail location, you're going to need to deal with the Alcohol and Tobacco Tax and Trade Bureau and your local Alcohol Beverage Control Board. Next, there are Ohio licenses or permits, and states tend to regulate a broader range of activities in the federal government. Business activities that are commonly regulated locally include auctions, construction, dry cleaning, farming, contractors, restaurants, retail, and vending machines. Ohio's business website, which is ohio.gov, has a list of businesses and occupations that require licenses and where to get the applications, and you'll find that very helpful. Some specific Ohio licenses are an Ohio vendor's license, which is required for any person or business making retail sales of property or taxable services. A vendor's license enables you to register to pay sales tax and to collect sales and use taxes and pay them over to the Ohio Department of Taxation. So this license is commonly needed for businesses. There are professional licenses, such as for doctors, lawyers, architects, engineers, nurses, and accountants, and a few other types of miscellaneous licenses that I'm going to mention that might be involved in the type of business you're in include cosmetologists, contractors such as electrical, HVAC, refrigeration and plumbing, insurance agents, landscape architects, massage therapists, tanning facilities, and a used motor vehicle dealer. Another thing to consider when you're opening a business is whether the location you're operating in permits that type of business under its zoning code. First, you can have an attorney look at the county zoning map to see which zone you're located in: commercial, residential, industrial, office, etc. You need to understand the uses that are allowed in that zone before you would buy or lease premises in that zone that may not allow you to operate the kind of business you intend. And this also applies to home-based businesses. Most zoning codes permit some level of home use for a business, but have restrictions related to parking, number of employees you can have, etc. You can contact your county zoning department for further assistance, or again, legal counsel. On this slide, and again, these slides are available with the handouts, I've given you a number of resources which are helpful for new businesses. The United States Small Business Administration, which makes it favorable loans to startups, has great resources on their website at sba.gov covering all the topics that I've covered here and more, and I think you'll find that very useful. The Ohio Secretary of State also has a large amount of business information, and that's the Ohio Secretary of State.gov businesses, and there's the website. There's an Ohio Business Gateway, which allows you to access services and submit transactions and payments with many state agencies, such as registering for a vendor's license, filing and paying sales tax and use tax, filing to pay commercial activity tax, and filing unemployment compensation tax. You need to contact your local county government to determine if there's any special requirements for your type of business. There are requirements relating to employees that I've given you the websites for Bureau of Workers' Comp, Unemployment Compensation, the Department of Job and Family Services. And I've given you the websites for the Kentucky and Indiana Secretary of States, which operates similarly to the Ohio Secretary of State, as we've been discussing. Finally, as I am a lawyer, I would recommend that you engage legal counsel that's experienced in business organizations when you're starting a business. And personally, I handle not only business organization, but myself and my firm handle purchases and sales and leases of real estate, purchases and sales of business assets, trademark registration, estate planning, etc. Thank you very much for your time today, and I will be available to answer any questions.
Yes, so now we will get into the open Q&A portion of today's webinar. If you have any questions, please use your question feature in your attendee panel, and I'll make sure to get that question asked before we wrap up today. We do have a couple questions in the chat and a couple that were pre-submitted, so we'll go ahead and get started. So we'll go ahead and start with the first one. It says, I'm starting my notary business and I created an LLC, but I'm not sure if I need an EIN.
As an LLC, you do need a tax identification number.
Great, thank you. The next question is, how would I know which licenses I would need to start a business?
It's the Ohio Business website, ohio.gov, and it's the licenses and permits tab that has 50 or 100 different types of businesses and whether or not licenses or permits are required and where to get the applications. So that's where you should look in Ohio.
The next question is from the chat. They're asking, on average, how much does it cost for a lawyer to set up an LLC?
Well, the filing fee for the Secretary of State, they charge $99. To set up an LLC, the cost will depend in part on whether it's a sole one-member LLC or whether you're going to have multiple members, and how much you want to spell out in your operating agreement about the rights of members, if you're going to have a manager, how long the LLC will remain in existence, what events will cause its termination, whether members can transfer their interests, etc. Depending on how simple to how complicated it is, I would say anywhere from $500 to $1,500.
The next one is, as of today or this current time, what is the most popular entity structure and why?
I don't know this as a statistic, but from the types of entities that our law firm has been organizing or has seen as clients, it would be the LLC. And that's because it's so much simpler than a corporation. It offers the same protection from personal liability as a corporation, but you don't have all the corporate formalities that you do of keeping a minute book for the corporation and having a board of directors and keeping minutes annually for the directors, appointing officers, etc. It can be formed for one member owner or two member owners without getting too complicated. Like I said, it protects you from personal liability, and it offers the favorable tax benefit of profits being taxed at the individual level, and unlike a C corporation, not being taxed at the corporate level and then at the personal level. And like I said, there's a new statute, LLC statute, that's going to replace the current one in Ohio, which is going to be even more flexible in terms of your ability to set up an LLC in any manner you choose and determine the rights of the various parties and limit liability. So again, an LLC is really very beneficial, but again, there may be tax reasons for you to have an S Corp or C corporation, or to have two entities, like a corporation owning an interest in an LLC, and you should consult an accountant or a tax lawyer about that.
And then in regards to how often do you pay sales taxes, we did have someone in the chat provide us that answer, and they said for sales tax filing, it depends on the amount of income each year. It may be monthly or every 6 months, depending on the income. I just wanted to share that. Thank you for putting that in the chat. Let's see. The next question is, when would I know when it's time to change from a sole prop to a true business entity?
Well, for one thing, it's fairly economical to form an LLC, for example, if when you're a one member, because you're a sole proprietor, a $99 filing fee, and a simple operating agreement, and that will protect you from personal liability. So you should evaluate any risk you feel there is in your business of anyone making a claim for it was possible that someone could be injured by a product or service, or claim that it was done negligently. Of course, you can cover yourself with insurance. So either way, you're going to need insurance as a sole proprietor or an LLC. I think there are advantages to separating your business operations with more of a wall than you can get with a sole proprietorship. You can build equity in an LLC in a cleaner fashion than a sole proprietorship. You can sell the business. I think once your business is up and running and you intend to have a future, and also if you want to get a loan, those are all good reasons to start an LLC. And it may be easier to just, skip the sole proprietorship and start an LLC, so you don't really have to switch anything over.
And then the next question in regards to DBA, can you stop using a DBA if you choose to?
Yes, I often see people at the Ohio Secretary of State when you're searching names, and you'll see a name that was registered and then it's canceled or no longer used. That's up to you entirely.
Thank you. The next question is asking about business insurance. It says, well, I need business insurance if I'm shipping and doing business from my home. And they're selling or shipping things like soaps and body butters.
Well, I would look at my homeowner's insurance to see whether it will cover if there was a fire or theft and you lost these products or your shipping materials or your molds that you're using. Will you be able to recover their value under a homeowner's policy? And you hopefully have some sort of personal liability policy for property damage or bodily injury caused to another person just for your home. If someone made a claim that the soap gave them a rash or something, will that be covered by your homeowner's insurance? So those are all reasons to check out whether you need business insurance. Also, if you're using your car to deliver products, is that an issue with your auto insurance, etc.?
The next question is asking, do I need a business bank account if I form an LLC?
Yes, you would want to get a business bank account in the name of the LLC in order to successfully avoid personal liability for a corporation in a corporation or an LLC. You need to treat the corporation or LLC as a separate entity from you. And the most important way is to have separate bank accounts. And for example, not pay your bills, personal bills, out of the business bank account. You need to keep it separate.
Thank you. And if you are interested in opening a business bank account, Philip's information will be on the next slide. And you can visit the business accounts page on our website to learn more if you'd like to look into that as well. The next question is, what happens if I change my business name? Who do I need to notify?
Okay, well, if you're an LLC or a corporation and you want to change the name, you need to amend your articles with the Ohio Secretary of State. And it's a simple form that says prior name, and then it'll say new name, and that will be your new name. And of course, the new name is also subject to whether it's available or confusingly similar to someone else's name. You may not need to change your corporate or LLC name if you just want to start using a DBA or trade name, and you can register that new name as a trade name with the Secretary of State if it's available, the name, without having to change your business name, which could be confusing for taxing authorities, etc. So it may be advisable just to use a trade name.
And it looks like we have one more question. Oh, and I just saw one come in, so we have a couple more questions. The first one is, if I want to close an existing partnership, what is required?
Well, first, assuming you have a partnership agreement, you need to look at that to see what it requires. If you don't, there are the Ohio Partnership Statute talks about winding up a business. You need to pay your creditors for one thing. You may need to notify taxing authorities, file a final tax return. You may want to file a dissolution with the Ohio Secretary of State. There's a number of steps, some of which I believe you can find on the Ohio Secretary of State's website on their forms section. I believe there's a form for dissolution of a partnership. And that assumes that the partners are in agreement to dissolve it.
Thank you. And then I think this next question is for Philip. They're asking, as a small business owner, what bank would be recommended? I've often heard credit unions are best. So Philip, do you have any insight on that, or anything you can share on the credit union versus a bank?
Yeah, of course. Thank you. So a lot of times when you look at the difference between credit unions and banks, the number one thing you're going to find through Google is credit union like us is non-for-profit versus most banks and super regional banks are profit models. So that's one thing we definitely pride ourselves on, is helping people improve their financial position, their financial quality of life, and doing that through a nonprofit business model. And we are a full service credit union, which may be a concern for some people when they're looking at credit unions, wondering what capacity we have or what ability we have to help you. But we do have the full commercial lending and a full treasury management department that offers all of the things that I mentioned in the opening comments there, as far as deposit accounts, lending service, and treasury management products.
Great, thank you. And the last question we have quickly is, how long does the filing process typically take with the Secretary of State?
If you file online, it's immediately, if the name is accepted and you don't make any mistakes in the form, it's immediately registered. They'll send you an email that says it's subject to approval, which you'll get within a few days, if that makes sense. They take your articles and date stamp them and conditionally approve them subject to review. But it's less than a week if you do it electronically.
Awesome. Thank you so much for that insight and for your time today, and everyone for joining the call. That is going to conclude our Q&A session. If you have any questions that come up after the webinar, Fern's information is up on the screen for another second or so, and then I'm also going to click to the next slide and share Philip's information if you'd like to reach out to either Fern or Philip for further questions. Those two things are on the slide, and they're also in the slides under the handout section, so make sure to download those as well. And with that, I wanted to thank you all so much for joining us today, and have a great rest of your day.